Perfect.
Everyone got it?
Yep.
Perfect. So we'll start with a question and a follow-up, and we'll start with Scott Gray.
Hi, David. You hear me okay? Aye.
Got you, yeah.
Yep. I just actually want to ask you what the mood's like in the camp, given the first team opportunities at Rangers and also players that have went out on loan, like Falkirk and other clubs like that, really decent clubs. What's the mood like, given the fact that the pathway to first team football is so clear?
I think it's been a bright, group as the season started for the obviously start of training. Everybody's you can't help but be excited from what happened last season, the opportunities that players got. I think it's important to say that these opportunities came about because the players kind of earned that situation. So I think from any message we give to the young players we've got for this season is, it's up to us to try and make sure we hit the heights that's expected of obviously any young player at Rangers and obviously the team itself. And then any opportunities or doors that open throughout the course of the season, then hopefully the lads will be ready to go and enjoy and hopefully put a good message across to the first team staff that they could be one for the future.
Thanks, David. Cheers.
Derek Clark.
Hi, David. A lot of young lads have joined this summer from all over the place, and how have they settled in? And namely the two young boys from England, Zak and Archie. How important is it that you've got the support network in place to support them, because they are moving away from home as well as on the pitch?
That's always a key situation that we've got to look at. I think one of the key strengths we've got at the club is we do have a player care team that helps look after every player, not just the ones that are coming from out with. But I think when you look at the support they've got in all aspects of the young players' kind of development, it helps them settle. We've obviously got a good group of host families as well that know what we want to look for within the young players and help them again settle off the pitch. So when it comes to the football development, it makes it much smoother, much easier for them. From that side, obviously you've spoke about Zak and Archie. Currently as it stands, obviously Zak's been with the B team group and Archie with the 18. So spread across both groups, there's a varying sort of range of players from different clubs and within and with Scotland. So our job as staff to try and integrate them together and try and help them individually, because that's obviously got to be our key focus. Our job, we also want to make the team do well and be successful. We always want to make sure the players individually help them progress and develop and jump through the different sections we've got within the club, and hopefully and eventually getting closer to the first team. So it's trying to help them settle in and understand what we want to look like, but give them as much individual support as we can along the way.
And I mean, the B team it's a controversial subject for many in Scotland, David, about obviously the involvement in the Lowland League. But in terms of the benefits, not only for Rangers but Scottish football, did you feel that it will not only benefit like you guys, but the good of the game in the country, that you guys are competing at this level?
You won't be surprised that I'm going to say I think it was fantastic last season. I think the bridge between 18s and first team is important. I think it's a gap that currently just now we believe that playing against men and not playing against your peers for another year, another couple of years, in an environment that can be quite sterile. I think going against men in an environment where you've got supporters, some with you, some against you, playing against different styles of football, different environments. I think that itself was huge for us last season. And I think from people talk about loan situations, and for some players it's right that they go on loan. For other players it's not. And I think last season you look at the opportunities that our lads got throughout the course of the season, training opportunities with the first team, some game opportunities, squad opportunities. That's huge. And I think through time, obviously a short period of time, it was something that we believe was hugely beneficial. Now through time, those players will have experienced senior football a little bit earlier than what they would do if they continue to play reserve football against, as I said, against their peers. So I believe, for the club it will help us, but I also believe for the benefit, Scottish football, but not just the national team. I think also other clubs as well, where if players, do end up moving on at some point, they'll leave with first team experience within our environment for a little bit longer.
Finally, for me, I mean, Zak had just touched on, obviously he's played at the championship level down south. Have you noticed that a real quality with him, David, in the short spell that you've worked with him so far?
Listen, I think when you first see him in the England touring game, you only seen that 25-minute, 30-minute window, and I think it was exciting to see that the kid has got talent. He's got, he handles the ball well. He's certainly got an eye for in around the penalty box, and once he gets involved in finishing situations, the way we play might be a little bit different from Millwall. I think he probably used to expose the spaces behind opposition lines quite quickly, whereas we might be a little bit more patient, in the build-up. and therefore it's about linking the game and understanding the way we want to try and play. But he's learning well, he's open to learning, he's constantly asking questions. So from our point of view, that makes it so much easier to help and develop him as an individual. And, we look forward to seeing how that progresses over a period of time.
Cheers, David.
Ross Sutton.
Hi, David. This is obviously your second season in the Lowland League. You got a taste for it last season as well. What new challenges are you expecting this season compared to last? Obviously, a couple of new faces in there. Broomhill have got a wee bit of money behind them. Cowden Beef have joined the league, and of course, a Hearts B team as well. So what new things are you expecting for the boys this season?
I think internally we'll look at us first, because there's a number of the lads that will come into this group for the first time. As I say, either from within the current structures in terms of 18s moving forward to the B team, or as I say, out with. So from all those, from the internal perspective, we're trying to find them a way of understanding what men's football is going to look like. The pre-season was designed for that, to try and get a balance between playing against certain men's team, playing against like for like, but obviously with the Scottish structure as well, going to the tournament we had in the Czech Republic. So there's a different balance we've tried to put in place to find a way for our players to learn within. Externally, again, you've got the usual bits. You've got the supporter input, which with the when it's the supporters that came to watch us, for the support us itself, they've been fantastic. It's hopefully that will be something that will continue throughout the course of this season. You spoke about the different clubs that have obviously come into the programme: Trinent, Cowdenbeath, Hearts. It'll bring 3 different types of games in there as well that hopefully again we'll look forward to and we'll face up to. So I think it's just a varying degree of different things, but we haven't had the experience last season. Hopefully it'll help us understand it a little bit quicker. But we will have challenges, there's no question about that. We'll have games where we'll have a lot of possession, but we'll still find it difficult necessarily to win that game. And it's having to manage the emotional side of that and understanding that where you might have all this possession, that doesn't necessarily win you the football matches. You have to be ready to defend, because at any given moment that will happen, whether it be by direct play or a set play, or a team that have been a little bit more robust in defending their final third. So it's trying to warn and make the players aware of that threat that will always exist, and recognise that we have to try and bridge that sort of gap that maybe doesn't always or wasn't always there as we come through academy football.
Thank you. And just secondly, obviously, we've all kind of touched upon the player and their development today, but obviously you've got players going out on loan, such as Cole McKinnon, Tony Weston, Juan Allegra. They've all stayed in Scotland. Ross McCausland has went a wee bit more further afield. Can you just give us a wee bit more of an idea about why those specific loans have been picked for those specific players and their own kind of development plans within that?
Well, these are conversations that are not just B team conversations. That this is club, decisions that they'll look at. What have the players achieved last season? What are they likely to achieve this season? Where's that best served? What level? Is it Scotland? Is it out with? Is it Championship? And hopefully some beyond that as well again. So I think every individual situation is different. And as I said earlier, some it's right to stay within the B team. And that proved to be the case last season for Lowry, King, McCann, lads like that, where they got closer to Devine there as well. And they got a little bit closer to what the first team needed. They understood what they were a bit quicker. Whereas at this season, at the moment, if it's right for Cole and Tony, you rightly spoke about them to go to a championship level club, a club that hopefully will be competing at the top end, then that's right for them. But as I say, it's not a one size fits all. We've realised that quite quickly. It's one that's got to be right for the individual at this time. And I think always it'll be reviewed throughout the course of the season and beyond so as well. So I don't think it's a one size fits all, not a one answer. It's very much individualised.
Cheers, David.
And Mark Dingwall.
Hi, David. During last season, you had a change of senior management at the club, and you were talking about development opportunities. You're looking at Dave Voss's involvement with Young Ajax and Tacom Centre. Have you had much of a conversation with Gio and Dave about the continuance of the same kinds of policies that you had under Stephen Gerrard?
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, alone I got to work with them for the opening part and got to know them a little bit better and understanding how they want the team to look, what individuals need to look like in certain situations. That's ongoing conversations, Mark, that will be something that constantly evolves. And obviously, I've seen the team last season that I think, teams that came against our first team last season were probably a little bit unsure as to how they were going to set up for that game plan, etc. So that's something that we, as the staff at the B team, are looking to try and be close to. And the manager and Dave and the rest of the staff have been open to share what they see and what they want that to look like. But more than anything, they just want to make sure the players that come through have got an understanding and are ready in every area of their development, whether that be from the technical or tactical, as we're speaking about just now, or even the physical development as well, which is important as well. So to move into the first team, that is another step again. And that's part of the holistic development we look at from within, but definitely it's always a shared conversation with the first team staff.
In terms of the rules and regulations of the competition, a lot of people, their eyes kind of glaze over, but you've obviously got to deal with this on a day-to-day basis. If you're talking about 7 Scots in the squad, in terms of the rules and loans and signings, what have the main changes been and the main challenges for this season with regard to recruitment?
Well, as a group, if you look at the B team this season, for the most part, I don't see that being a big issue for us. I think the group as we have it will be fairly well spread for the cope and manage with that new rule that's been put in place. But I think it's constantly looking at the individual to try and make sure that we get it right. The recruitment side of things, that's an ongoing process. We've got a responsibility to try and make sure we get the best players to come through into this academy for our first team, whether that be Scottish or otherwise. But I think, as you see, we've got a number of balance within the B team squad that we will cope and manage with that new rule, hopefully, pretty well.
And lastly, just in terms of the development of the B team, almost as its own club. Last year you had the big thrill, and that certainly came across with the players that we get talking to who made their debuts at Ibrox. Is that likely to happen again? And lastly, the introduction of season tickets, which is obviously, perhaps giving a wee bit of stability to the finances, but also I think a recognition of Dumbarton's kind of become, as it used to be with the reserves, home from home, a stable platform. Are you hoping to develop the crowd this year?
We would hope so. Obviously, we'll try and make sure, as far as the fixtures go, that we hope there's very limited clashes with the first team, because ultimately, that does have an impact. So hopefully that'll be something we can look at throughout the course. In terms of the responsibility we have as a team, is to try and make sure we put on a performance that entices fans to come along, because it's got to be entertaining, it's got to be interesting. That's something we'll try and implement from our side to make sure, and I thought that was the case last season. I think people come away from our games last season speaking about individuals, which is important, because that's them building a profile. That's supporters getting to know them that maybe didn't previously, get to know the players until that stage. Obviously, from a team performance, we want to try and entertain as well, as we said, and get positive results, and hopefully be competing at the top end of the table as well, which again continues to entice people along. We'll be visiting areas of the country that hopefully again will have a sort of Rangers fan base that might get an opportunity to come and see us again. That might not necessarily be the case. For example, if we're travelling east, if we're playing at Dumbarton, it might not be as normal for them to come and watch us. So hopefully they might come and watch us at places like Trinent, and obviously the borders, etc., as we go through the season, which was the case last season. But I can't emphasise enough how important that was to the players. The players really enjoyed the interest, they really enjoyed the pressure, because it does bring pressure when there's people come to watch that are not necessarily known to the players. Obviously previously when you've got parents and friends, it's just like it's easy to go and play in front of them, but when it's interesting, people paying to come and watch. You spoke about the season ticket situation this season, which again hopefully will be of an interest for a number of fans that found it interesting and enjoyable to come and watch us. But we do know we've got a responsibility to try and make sure people want to come and watch us, so that's our challenge internally, to make that continue to be the case.
Thanks
very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.